Welcome back, everybody, to Season 2 of This Week in ZA. It's the podcast where we dive into the world of software engineering over a slice of pizza. My name's Kodad, here with my co-host Chad. And today we're joined by Jeff Stolle.
Stolle, but that's all right.
I was going to ask and I forgot. The owner?
CEO? Oh, no.
Executive Director.
VP of Marketing
VP of Marketing.
for Nebraska Cattlemen.
Of Nebraska Cattlemen.
Yes.
Every week on this podcast, we sit down with a guest from the industry to talk about culture, projects, and everything in between while enjoying some pizza. Today's pizza is the brisket from Lazzari's. No modifications, straight out of the box brisket. So stick around to hear some great insights, share a laugh or two, maybe get a little bit hungry. So let's dig into some pizza, get into it.
I always ask the first question. It's the same one each time. Because I think it's one of my favorite ones. What's your biggest mistake you've made? Or to be honest, we want your funniest mistake.
Biggest mistake?
Yeah, or at least the one that
Relative to the projects that we've worked on together?
Or whatever. It doesn't have to be related
We
to
waited too damn long before we did it.
Well, yeah.
And I'm only being
Half
only halfway facetious there. Yes. You've kept me out of most of the mistakes. You guys have kind of kept me on the straight and narrow since we got our app up and running and everything. So I'd have to think real hard about any big mistakes.
Yeah, my favorite one still is from season 1. Bill taking a bunch of chemicals that gave him diarrhea. That was my favorite one still. So I just want to point out that still wins.
Yeah, that's
the best one.
That would be hard to top. I suppose.
It is hard to beat that one. I'm waiting. Someone's going to get it one of these days. I'm expecting someone will. When I tell them that's going to prompt them to oh yeah, I can beat Bill.
They'll come up with something better.
Just because they want to beat
That
Bill.
one's bound to be hard to beat.
It's a tough one.
Once you know the league you're kind of in, like the type of mistakes we're talking about, somebody's going to go, oh yeah, when I was in college.
Now, this week we're eating Ramos Pizza, their barbecue pizza.
Brisket.
Barbecue brisket pizza. Yeah, the brisket pizza. Mm-hmm. So far, I've only had a few bites, but I'm enjoying this quite a bit.
Yeah,
This works.
this one's mine.
This works.
Now, it would be a little bit better with cream cheese and jalapenos, but I think even sans cream cheese, this is going to be a real high score for me. So, after the most embarrassing mistakey stories, we usually dive into pizza ratings. So, we have everybody rate the pizza that they're eating, and I'll tell you the scale while you're taking a few more bites. Anything like a 0, 1, or 2, that's almost like pizza's so bad you can't finish it. 3, 4, 5, it's kind of it's just below average. Usually a 5, 6, 7, kind of in that range is fairly average, but good, decent pizza. You get into the 8s and 9s, that's like a fantastic pizza. And a 10 we usually say is the kind of pizza where you're going to keep eating it until you're absolutely disgusted with yourself. You're not going to leave any leftovers because it's too good to leave anything left behind. You can rate on decimal points, although most people choose not to.
I'm going to give this 8. This is pretty solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a solid 8. Of course, brisket's kind of like bacon,
Sure.
to me anyway. To a cowboy, brisket's kind of like bacon. Brisket makes everything better. So, but I give this a solid 8.
Your brisket's probably my cream cheese. I put cream cheese
Okay.
on most things, and I'm like,
Okay.
that's instantly better.
Okay.
It's an excellent pizza. Normally, I'm kind of a little worried about barbecue sauce on pizza. But this is great.
They didn't overdo it.
They didn't overdo it. I agree. I guess I'll go I'm going to go an 8 as well. I would eat this, but I will point out I would stop. I'm not going to eat till I feel like I'm going to die. But I have nothing negative to say about this. Yeah.
Sure. I'm a bit removed from season 1, so I don't remember where I put other stuff on those scales. I don't think it's quite a 9. I think if you had cream cheese, it'd be a 9 for sure. But I think I'm going to go with like an 8.3. This one's way up there for me.
0.3.
Yeah, I always rate on decimals, so I got more range.
He's got all sorts of weird scores. You know one thing about this one, and it has to do with why I think I scored the other one so high. They have a wonderful crust.
Yeah.
Their crust is top notch. So And like hence the breadstick, I think, is also pretty good too.
Yeah, actually, I usually get the Bosco sticks with the cheese in them, but that's a really good breadstick. I didn't even get any marinara with it.
Enough sauce on the pizza.
Yeah. I think we're gonna work our way through a lot of their pizzas and be pretty happy with
Mm-hmm. They actually have a version of this with cream cheese and jalapenos. What do they call it?
it. Jalapeno's optional, the heart stopper.
Heart stopper.
Cream cheese and jalapenos. Now, the jalapenos part of that sounds really intriguing.
Would you have put jalapenos on this one? I think that'd probably take it up.
I
a notch,
would,
too.
I would definitely put onions on it. Jalapenos probably wouldn't break my heart either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not cream cheese.
Definitely green peppers. I'm not sure about jalapenos.
Okay.
I don't know about jalapenos with brisket.
When you come back in season 6 or 7.
I could, jalapenos like with pepperoni or
It's
with,
excellent.
or with sausage, either one, but I'm not sure about jalapenos with brisket.
Jalapenos and pepperoni, I think, are one of the best combinations for pizza.
Yes.
They're a great one.
Yeah.
But I think, we were in these and we often are talking a little bit more about the technology side of things. We're not, but I think your world is pretty interesting. Kind of what you do, how things go. Maybe kind of, if you could give us an overview of what is Nebraska Cattlemen, because there's, if we're talking to non-tech people,
Right.
they're going to know that there's, Nebraska, I think they know what that means, and cattlemen, but besides that, they're a little bit like, they've maybe heard of the Cattlemen's Ball. I think occasionally you meet people that have kind of heard of that or gone to that, but.
Right. Well, there's going to be at least 2 levels to this because Nebraska Cattlemen, the organization, if you will, primarily exists to look out for the best interests of our membership. We are a grassroots policy organization. The membership develops the association's policy stances, and then we lobby on behalf of the membership, not only here in Lincoln at the unicameral, but also to some extent at the national level through our affiliation with the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. So, big picture, that's kind of boiling down, what Nebraska Cattlemen does. Now, the specific program that we built the application for is our market reporting service. And I am the primary staff person for the market reporting service. I have one gentleman who is my right-hand guy. In fact, he's watching the shop this week while I'm on the road all week and in legislative meetings and a board meeting tomorrow and Thursday. But what we do, we provide market information for, this is a rough number, but probably 300 or so cattle feeding operations. The vast majority of those in Nebraska, but some in Iowa, some in South Dakota, some in Minnesota, and then a few operations in other states that are a little farther removed geographically from Nebraska. The information that we concentrate on is generated from the interface between the cattle feed yards, who obviously are selling cattle that have been finished and are ready for market at that point, and they're selling those cattle to the beef packers, processors, whatever you want to call them. But those packers frequent those feed yards and view the cattle that are being offered for sale that particular week, and then they bid on those cattle. Let's just pick a number. We'll pick a number from last week, which just happened to be an all-time high. Yes,
All time.
all time.
I didn't know that.
All time without question high. Yes. So it's a really interesting time in our business right now. Maybe the packer comes on the yard, and it might be Tuesday or Wednesday or even Thursday. They've looked at those cattle previous to that week probably. And if you owned a pen of cattle, Chad, you could tell your packer buyer, let's say that Jeff K is your packer buyer, and you tell him, I would like 212 live for that pen
What does
of cattle.
212 mean?
212 in this case would be price per hundredweight. So $212 per hundredweight
Per 100 pounds?
for that animal, and live being as he or she stands right there. Okay, so per 100 pounds. So 212, if that animal weighs 1,500 pounds, 212 times 15 is what that animal would be worth. I can't do that math right quick in my head. But it's a fairly large number. It's something in excess of $3,000 right now. So, but there is rarely ever agreement between Jeff K, the packer buyer, and Chad, the owner of the cattle.
He's a problem, though. Jeff's kind of over there, as usual. Kodad over there, he's kind of a problem.
He acts like a packer buyer? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes. Yes. We'll start using that, referring to him.
Does he generally tell the truth, though?
Yeah.
Well, then he doesn't quite
Okay,
act like
never
a
mind.
packer
So that, never mind.
Okay.
Off the hook.
Yeah. So, but that exchange is going on in many different places,
Yep.
around the Midwest, between different buyers and different sellers. What we do is we gather that information from the seller's side. We sell subscriptions to our information service, and cattle feed yards purchase a subscription to our service. They get our information. The packers don't really care to provide us any information because really I don't think they necessarily care for what we do. Because if we're doing our job well, then we're probably helping the leverage
To get better prices when
of
they
the
sell.
seller instead of the buyer.
Yep.
And we're not naive enough to think that we can actually influence the market, if you will, but we do everything we can to give the seller as many pieces of information and as many tools in his toolbox, he or she, as possible, so that they can make a very informed decision whether they want to sell those cattle to that particular buyer at that particular time, or maybe pass that bid and either wait for a different buyer or possibly wait till next week or whatever it might be.
Now you mentioned earlier the price right now was a record high?
Yes.
212? Since I'm thinking very selfishly here, as someone that cooks the occasional brisket at home, and I cook a lot of steaks. I cook steaks every Sunday. 212 is my price for steak at wherever I buy it, and brisket going up in the next few weeks. Should I right now stop this podcast, go and buy a bunch of steaks and stock up? That's really what the question is.
That is a good question.
Yeah.
For the short term, yes, they would probably be good inventory.
Okay.
But who knows where we are 3-4 months down the road,
Yeah.
And
Does it have that big of a quick increase? Like next weekend, will the steaks?
No, it's not that quick.
It's not that quick.
It's not that quick. And in addition to that, there is a lot of product that is purchased and sold 2, 3, 4, 6, 8 months in advance.
Oh.
So that's also a reason why you're not, if I tell you live cattle are bringing an all-time high price, that does not necessarily mean that when you go walk into Hy-Vee 5 days later, you should expect the steak to cost incrementally more
Okay.
than what it did last week.
And what's like, you said it's 212, what's like a normal, what would you call the normal price?
Oh, what's normal here lately? The market has spent a lot of time over the past few years between about 180 and 190 to 95.
Okay.
You know, and when I say the last few years, I'm talking the last couple, 3 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So if we get into some cattle here, you start bringing some cattle into the office,
Up on the second floor.
on the second floor.
This would get dicey.
The elevator's not quite done yet.
Well, the elevator's not done, and it would take a pretty darn big elevator, too.
Yeah.
That's strong, though.
Well, we'll
Yeah.
start with small cattle, and they'll get bigger while they're here.
That's how it works, right?
They can eat pizza?
Yeah, well,
That's
pizza's kind of pricey. That's kind of a pricey option.
Okay.
So, but then you'd have them, by the time you get done, sell them, and then if you're on the NCR, or the MRS, the Market Reporting Service, you can report in what you got that for, and other people can see that.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's pretty
And,
cool.
you know, as we've talked in the past, from the time that we receive that information, whether it comes in via the app or whether it comes in via phone call or comes in via email, we can literally take the information that one person called and gave us and put it in the hands of, you know, if there's 300, the other 299 within a minute or
Yeah.
two. Yep. Really quick.
That's real, yeah.
So,
This segment of the podcast is called The People Want to Know.
Oh, no.
It's where we go to the audience.
the people in the know?
The people want to know.
Oh, the people
Yep.
want to know.
The
Okay.
people who watch the podcast, these are the questions that the people want to know from our
Okay.
guests. So
Okay.
I've asked ahead of time what the people want to know from you.
Okay.
And there's a two-part question they got for you. Real important stuff. As an expert in beef, I think that they're really curious on what's your preferred cut of beef if you're going to a steakhouse. What are you ordering? Ribeye, T-bone, prime rib, sirloin,
I'm a New York strip guy.
New York strip. Okay.
Yeah, strips are my favorite.
Okay. So then the second part of that is what's your preferred done, what do you call it? Done temp? Done
Medium rare.
medium rare?
Mm-hmm.
And that's due to how,
Warm pink center.
is that because of how much fat there is or how little fat there is in the New York strip? is
No,
this just
not really.
preference over the years you kinda
That's
landed on?
just, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's just kind of become my preference for doneness
Sure.
over the years. But, yeah, a strip, medium rare, pepper crusted makes it even better.
I was gonna ask if you did
So
anything
that's
else
where
to
I'm
it.
at. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
Pepper crusted New York strip, preferably USDA prime, cooked to medium rare.
Perfect. That sounds
Yeah.
good. No
Yeah.
mushrooms or
No.
Bermignaise sauce or whatever those fancy
No,
things are.
no,
now?
no. If it's a good enough steak, it doesn't need sauce on it.
Yeah. What's your favorite steakhouse? Lincoln, Omaha, someplace I can get to, or between, I guess.
I like 801 Chop House in Omaha.
Okay, I've been to 801. That's good.
Yeah, 801 is really good.
I had like a
And
30 ounce or something ridiculous. That was.
Yeah, yeah. And I love their bar.
Oh yeah, the whole place. The
It's
vibe is good.
that huge, long, it's kind of mahogany, I think. I don't know what the wood actually is, but it's a deep, rich wood.
Yeah, I should know it, but I don't think I get close enough to tell the species.
And then they get, then they've got that big statue of a bull in the middle there that I think is kind of cool. So that's probably what I'd pick right here. And nothing against Lincoln, but that's probably what
That's where
I'd
you'd
pick
go.
here. That's what I'd pick here in the Lincoln, Omaha area, probably.
Had a lot of good steaks in Omaha, so
Yeah.
I'm not surprised you went up there.
So,
I'm a big fan of the Drover up in Omaha. I don't know if you've been to there.
I haven't been over yet.
It's a nice ambiance of it never left the 70s.
Right.
Um,
Right, right.
but
So the other part of the question I had for you, I'm assuming that before the app and sending the text and the website and stuff, was this sharing of this price information something that you all did before that technology was there?
Oh, yes. The market reporting service has existed since the very late 80s.
Okay.
I came on staff in June of 1991, so the market reporting service was still pretty darn new. Back then, we essentially did everything via telephone, and what in our industry we refer to as DTN.
yep,
Okay.
yep.
DTN stands for Data Transmission Network.
Those satellite dishes, right?
Right.
Yep.
Right. And it was put together. The company originated in Omaha.
Yeah, I've actually been to their offices many years
Okay.
ago. Yep.
Okay. In fact, I know one of the original partners in DTN
Oh, really?
very, very well.
Okay.
He's a subscriber to our service and a longtime friend, longtime member. But anyhow, it was I don't even know. It was kind of the first electronic means, at least that I'm aware of,
Just push.
of distributing agricultural market information, not just cattle, but grains. In fact, I would tell you DTN probably, their growth and how much that company expanded in a short period of time. It was probably more so focused on grains necessarily
Than it was cattle.
than livestock. But we had a segment on DTN where we would publish this information. Subscribers could pay an additional fee to be able to access it there. So that's how we started.
That was way back when.
Yeah, that's how we started, and that's what we were doing in the early '90s, early to mid '90s, and we transmitted that information to DTN via an old dial-up modem. Yeah, that sounded like
Screeching cats.
sounded like a corn grinder
Yeah.
when it connected. Yeah. And then we advanced from that point. I guess kind of the next step was we had a pager system.
I was kind of wondering if pagers would
Then
come.
that was kind of the intermediate
yeah.
step. That was the intermediate step between the phone and the DTN, then it was the pager, then in, I think it was 2002, we built the framework of the existing website, which is still in use.
Yes, still in use.
Which is still in use, and now has another room built onto
Yeah.
it for the application. But originally, when we built the website, we designed it to send the information by email, traditional email. And then when SMS text came along, we added a SMS text piece because essentially that was fairly similar to sending an email. I mean, it was going via text but sent in an email format.
Yep.
I don't remember exactly when we started in with that. But we were to the end of the road, or getting to the end of the road, with that being a dependable and timely delivery mechanism. I say that, when I say that, I mean the SMS text. The email is still timely and fairly dependable.
Yep.
The SMS text, we were starting to have more and more issues with the timeliness of the delivery. Sometimes there was no delivery at all. And quite
I think there was one
honestly,
provider they just stopped sending.
well,
Yeah.
and as it grew, the headache multiplied from having, when we first started, pretty much everybody was using the same cell phone provider, or 90% of them were.
That one rural provider
Well,
that was around.
we started growing more and more and doing business in different areas, and we finally got to the point where we're trying to manage 4 or 5 or 7 different cell phone providers. One might have an issue this day, one's got an issue that day, then all of a sudden one of them decides that they don't want to send the information at all, and we're in panic mode.
And people want the information fast, so it's fairly important.
It's got to be timely.
It's like critical to be fast.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And, so that was a big part of our motivation for,
Now it pretty much sends push notifications,
yes,
which in general come in very fast.
yes,
So
yes.
that's been a big upgrade.
In fact, a lot of times, the push notifications land on my phone before I'm sitting there in front of the screen, sending the push notification. The notification has hit my phone before my screen tells me it's sent. Or we're through with the sending process. It hits my phone quicker than that. Yeah.
No, it is very fast.
So.
That push notification system the mobile providers make is really good at that fast send.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then through the years, I'm assuming that you've had some clientele that have kind of seen a lot of that generational leap, right?
Yes.
So have you noticed any like patterns or things about the adoption of these technologies? Because you're probably in a market that doesn't see as advanced tech, or at least people probably have a perception of it.
It varies quite a bit.
Yeah.
But we're definitely in an industry with, on the average, an older demographic.
Sure.
It's quite honestly pretty tough for a young person to just get started in our industry.
So, if Kodad and I want to start raising cattle, what's our step one? Get a lot of land.
Well, a feed yard doesn't necessarily
that's true.
require a whole lot of land,
Yeah,
but
a lot of capital.
it requires a ton of capital and a ton of equipment.
Yeah,
Yes.
and especially if you're just starting out, you could be very swayed by cattle prices for your success. If you have like a longer runway, you probably can have a little bit of a chance to play that a little bit. But short term, if you came in today and you have to buy, or if you're selling, if all the cattle prices tank, you could be really hurting.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And it's it's a really, really tough industry to enter just from scratch.
Yeah. It effectively never happens, right? Or almost never happens.
It's very, very rare.
Yeah.
It's very, very rare.
Except for Kodad and I, we're going to get a cow for the office.
I'm trying to think what's the smallest lot that we could still be successful with. Are we talking?
Don't you think that'd just be kind of funny? Have a cow walking around? That'd be kind of something.
Well, it would be interesting.
So people get attached to it.
Yeah.
I fear that.
No, people aren't going to get attached.
Yeah,
They're gonna want gone.
I fear that economically it would be quite a challenge. But going back to your, I think where you were headed with that question. Here, fairly recently, within the last year or so, that SMS system as a delivery mechanism has more or less cratered.
Yeah.
It's not dependable at all anymore. In fact, we've pretty much given up on it. We've taken all promotion of it off of our website. We're basically telling people at this point, we can put the information in your hand 2 ways. Well, I guess 3 if you count the phone.
Yeah.
But it's either email or it's the application.
Right.
And we tell them up front, look, the price is the same. Don't cheat yourself by just getting it by email.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because the app is so much better package and so much more complete that it's just, it's not even an apples and oranges comparison. It's a big difference. So, but a story for you, Jeff. When the text finally completely cratered and we decided it's time to knock this in the head, it's time to get people to move to the app. I have a case of a customer who I know is over 70 years old. I'm not sure exactly how old the gentleman is, but he never before has had a smartphone. He went out and bought his first smartphone
For the app.
so he could have the application on his phone.
So he has like one thing on there, and it's this.
I don't know that for a
Yeah.
fact.
I mean, it comes
but
with a few
But
things
I
on it,
guarantee you, he does not have a bunch of apps on that phone. He went and purchased that smartphone.
Well, he probably doesn't have TikTok on it.
Doubtful. Yeah, but he went and purchased that smartphone
Just for you guys.
so he could have the app.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it was pretty neat, and I told my coworker John when that happened. I said, John, we know for sure now that it's time to put an end to the SMS text
He'll-
delivery. Well, that proves it. So, yep.
All right. You know, we've done we're kind of talked with, I think often at this point we think about what pizza do you recommend, right?
Oh yeah, season 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was not a recommendation from a previous guest, but we do let our guests make recommendations for the next episode, and we keep a list of those. That way, when we don't feel like picking up a certain pie, we grab one off the list. So,
I kind of wanted a brisket for tonight because I knew you would.
Oh,
It felt very appropriate to have brisket tonight.
So do you want to know what my standby? I mean, I'm not real familiar with what's available right here around the shop. You know,
Give us
right here in
some
Lincoln.
thoughts, and we'll see if we can pull it off for someone. If it's not available in the region, we'll probably never do it. If we have to go to Chicago, unlikely.
Well, I'm essentially kind of that meat lovers guy.
Okay.
3 meats on a pizza doesn't bother me at all, and 4 makes it better. Brisket's good. Just hamburger's fine.
Yeah.
I love pepperoni. Sausage is always a help. I'm a green pepper and onions guy too.
Okay.
Green pepper and onions on everything.
On it.
fiance's dad's the exact same way.
Yeah,
And
unless
even with green peppers and onions, it's
yeah,
it's-
unless you want to, if you want to substitute jalapenos for the green peppers, I'm okay with that. That's a good crust.
I agree.
I do not like pizza that has crust where you gotta hold the end of the slice,
Sure.
and this is not a real, what I would call some of the thin crust ones that it's like
That New York style.
they get really crunchy.
Sure.
I don't like one that shatters either.
Yeah, you like a kind of soft.
This is kind of
bready
right
kinda
in the
crust.
middle of the two,
Yeah.
and I think a
Yeah.
really nice crust.
I agree. That's
So-
maybe the reason, like when I was talking about, I think this is part of the reason I like this so much. It's just I think it has one of the best crusts around. It's not too thick. It's just
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
What if this whole season was just us eating through the Ramos menu, and we just showed each guest and said, pick the next one off the menu? I bet we find one that has peppers and onions with a meat or 2 or 3 on
You
there.
could do
Oh,
that.
gotta be.
Yes,
I'm
peppers
sure
and-
they've got it.
yeah.
I'm sure they've got it.
Just I think
Uh,
I'm just gonna throw this out though. I do think the Valentino special isn't that hamburger onions. No, it's hamburger onions and pepperoni. That's the special. Never mind. It doesn't have green pepper. I don't think.
They call it the Valentino special.
Yeah, something like that.
Huh.
It's actually really good because I'm always like, people talk different things about their pizza, but I was like, that one's like,
Better than chicken bacon ranch.
their chicken bacon ranch is their best pizza.
Okay.
But that
They've
one's
got
also-
a taco pizza, don't they?
I haven't had their taco.
And they got a pepperoni cream cheese too.
Okay.
Kodad wants
You're
every-
gonna get me to try the cream cheese.
should
I
try it.
No, that's not what I'm trying to do.
You should try it. It is good on pizza. It is good. Next,
the cream cheese with the jalapenos
Oh yeah.
and pepperoni. I'm warming up to that idea a little
Just give it a
bit.
shot.
I probably would try that. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I think we can find green pepper, onion, 2 or 3, maybe 4 meats, We'll call it the Jeff Special.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what, yeah, you know, there's a Mexican restaurant down in the south part of town. And I used to have like the bartender knew.
Knew you?
Yeah, we named it the El Jefe.
Nice.
Yeah, because you know, that means the boss. And I always joked with him about that. Now we're transitioning from pizza to Mexican food, so I don't know if this fits here in the ZA.
I
But-
love Mexican food. Nachos are one of my favorite foods alive.
Okay.
I can eat
Okay.
nachos almost every meal.
The Casey's Taco Pizza is still one of the highest rated pizzas we've had on the show.
It's still, I'm still shocked by how much I like that pizza.
Did you
Yeah.
know Casey's has made more money on pizza than gasoline last year?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, their pizza's great though. Their pizza is great.
Yeah, but their gas station.
Yeah, I would assume gas would be their number one maker, but I think it must be the ratios are just so low. They're like the profit
I'm
per
convinced
gallon.
it's the same. They just sell that much more pizza. Gallons and gallons of pizza.
Gallons and gallons of pizza.
Right.
I do eat a lot of pizza, but I think I use more gas, unfortunately. I wish I could eat more pizza.
What's gas?
Yeah. Oh.
All right.
I'll have to bring my daughter next time. She survives on pizza.
She'll like that. We eat a lot of
Yeah.
pizza.
Guest of a guest on the episode.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So, she'd probably be more interesting than me too.
Now, this was really good. I think all that data kind of around, or kind of thoughts around pricing of cattle and whatnot, and really interesting. I actually still, like when we're talking with people and people are talking about building mobile apps and notifications, I almost always on my phone pull up, it's not showing right now, the app, and I see all the notifications. Like, look at all these notifications that came through in the last day from this one app. And it's always, you never fail to have like a day where there's something there that I can kind of show. Look at all these.
Oh yeah, if it's a Monday through a Friday, there's going to be something there. Even if there's not really any,
Yeah.
if there's not necessarily any cash cattle trade
Yep.
going on that day, there's going to be information there.
Yeah.
Because quite honestly, for our people, it's as important to know that there's nothing going on as it is to know that there's something
Yeah.
going on. So there has to be enough of an information flow for them to know, yeah, those guys are there, they're paying attention, they're not asleep. So,
And one other thing I always love about it, and I'm closer now based off our conversation, I look at this app and I'll show it. The thing that I always find funny is there's a lot of good information there. I read it and I'm like, I don't know if any of this makes sense to me. Like every once in a while they'll be like, you guys are jumping on a call soon or something. I know what those mean. But the rest of them, like, oh, you know, it's a little bit like software developers sometimes will use all these acronyms and, you know, weird terms. I think to other people are like, I don't know what this means. I think this is another world where there's like very specific terms and they all mean certain things and it's abbreviated and a number. If I just would have saw 212, I'd be like, oh, no, it's 212.
but you have to realize, guys, this is a niche of a niche of a niche.
Yeah.
There are people who are significantly in the cattle business. You know, like it's a significant piece or the way that they make their living, and they could look at the information that we print on the application and have
Oh, really?
as little understanding of what it is and why it matters as
Really?
you might. Yes.
Wow, okay.
Yes.
I guess I assumed anybody who was in the industry, they at least...
No.
Okay.
We're very specialized. That interface between the feed yard selling and the packers buying, you know, there's a lot of people who are significantly involved in the industry who just are not active at that interface. So they can look at that information and
It just wouldn't mean anything to
and
them.
also not know what it means.
Okay, that makes me feel a
Right.
little better.
Right.
Because I'm always like,
Yeah.
look at all this. We
Yeah.
posted this information that's really cool. I don't know what it is. What it means.
So, yeah.
That's cool.
Well, if you're making Chad feel better, that means it's time to wrap this thing up.
Yeah. No one wants that.
Okay. Okay.
Well, thanks for tuning in. Again, it's episode 1 of season 2. Jeff, thanks for coming on. Next episode,
Very
we'll
welcome.
find some meat and pepperoni and, not meat, well, pepperoni go in it too. Meat and onions, peppers, get the Jeff special. Do we know who the next guest is?
Nate and Kyle, probably.
Nate, Kyle, that's right. You're gonna have to tell me more about Nate
Yep.
Kyle. Or maybe you don't, I'll go blind.
It's full chaos here every time. No one knows what's going on. That's the way we like it.
Yeah, great. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the content here. Leave a message below if you have thoughts about the cattle industry in general or pizza, as always. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Thanks for tuning in.
Ooh, this will be a... All right, I'm going to do this one. This one's a little more out there. It's a little more serious than we normally go.
Serious, okay.
How do you see the cattle industry going the next few years? Is it going up, going down? Prices, is this record high just a step on the way to even higher record highs?
Wow.
This matters a lot to me because I buy a lot of steaks, so I care a lot.
I'm trying to figure out how to give you a 30-second answer instead of a 30-minute answer and have to go get my slide deck out of my briefcase. Beef demand is incredible right now, both domestically and from an export standpoint. Beef supply is adequate but not in any way burdensome. We're likely not going, I mean, just like we said, we're at all-time highs. And the last few weeks we haven't been going up like this, we've been kind of going up like that. So logic would tell you that a lot of times what goes up fast also comes down fast. There'll be a stopping point and the market will start to retreat. That said, unless demand changes significantly, we're probably establishing, a new trading range in my mind. That's some premium to where we were before. I'm a big fan of the market trading axiom that old resistance tends to become new support. So, where that resistance was around 180 to 190, maybe that becomes support on the bottom side instead of being overhead resistance. To see a significant retreat in prices, we have to increase production to the point that we somewhat overwhelm that demand base. To do that, we have to add to the number of cattle. We have to add to overall inventories. And to add to overall inventories, it takes more cows. Mm-hmm. Because without the cows, there are no calves. And we're at a spot now where there are a number of factors that haven't existed necessarily in recent times that kind of, I think, make it more of a challenge for folks to grow their cow herds. For one thing, the inventories in the cattle industry tend to kind of be cyclical. Mm-hmm. You have peaks and valleys and peaks and valleys. Well, the last time we had a severe liquidation in the cow herd, it was following the drought. It was a drought-induced liquidation in 2011, 2012. The cows had to be sold off simply due to a lack of feed, lack of pasture. But once it started raining everywhere, and we expanded at a really rapid rate. I don't see if there's expansion in our future here, and I think we're kind of turning the corner right now on the cusp of trying to expand. But we talked about the capital requirements earlier. Mm-hmm. Okay? not only does it take a lot more capital to do it now, but the capital that you're borrowing is gonna cost you 8% now, whereas last time we did this, it was costing half that. We got more and more of these older producers that we talked about that are at the point where they're wondering, okay, who is next to provide the labor and management for this operation? In a lot of cases, you know, the kids are grown and gone and may not have an interest in coming back to carry that operation on. And you know, if you're looking at that type of situation, and fed cattle prices are not the only thing that are at a record right now. Cow prices, in other words, breeding females that are being liquidated, those are also at all-time record highs. So if you're up in age and you don't know, you know, where that next generation of labor and management is going to come from, right now, you've got probably as attractive an off-ramp, if you will, in our industry than has ever existed. Yeah. And so that too stands in the way of a really aggressive expansion. Third thing is drought. There are still spots around the country where folks are a little bit unsure as far as feed resources. So it's not quite the same type of setup as it was when it started raining in 13 and 14 and everything just pretty much got green and lush nationwide all at once. There's spots where that's not the case right now. So
My yard looks really mediocre right now. It's been kind of, you know, our whole fall here was really dry.
Yep. Yep. Well, in my home state of Texas, you know, I've still got some contacts back there in the industry, and there was a time last year in 24, going into the spring in 24, you know, April, May, that time frame, where you heard people saying, you know, I'm going to keep back quite a few heifers. I'm going to build my cow herd. By August, it was, I don't know what I'm going to feed them. I'm uncomfortable. They're going to the feed yard. So, you know, and that's been the case in other places too. So I don't see a really rapid rebuild of the breeding herd necessarily to the point that it really pressures prices.
Price back down. So we're
Yeah.
probably seeing prices going up for a while then, or at least
Or
sustaining
at least sustaining at what would be historically high levels. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So I think it sounds like what I took from this is Kodad and I are going to get a cow, put in the office. It's guaranteed to make money. We'll just feed it. I mean, the pooping is going to be a problem, but we'll get through that.
Insurance for that.
This is guaranteed to make money is what I heard.
Okay. Bill going to partner with you?
Oh yeah,
Okay, he's all in?
he's all in. He actually
Okay.
knows probably a lot more about cattle than us do. He's from Burwell, so
Okay,
he kind of has
okay,
more of
yeah,
the cattle. I'm from
okay,
like
okay.
Overton, more of farm ground land.
Right.
I know
right.
more about corn.
Right.
He's more of the cattle guy.
Mm-hmm.
We'll put in a little field of corn back behind here. Actually, that would look really good. Like a little bit of a couple rows of corn behind us. Be a little bit of a Nebraska aesthetic to the place. They have some cows walking
Yeah.
around. We have dogs walking around the office. Why can't we have a cow? Well, this has been fun. Always enjoy seeing you, and this will be a great episode.
This has been enjoyable.
Thanks.